Alright, now that you've free-drawn to your heart's content and decide how you're going to draw your characters, it's time for the fourth step, frame it in 4 panels. I'm going to go ahead and read the paragraph in the badge guide. It's time for you to put your characters into action, and that means framing them, drawing them in little boxes called panels. So imagine your story as characters in a series of actions. Create panels with sticky notes or by using a ruler to draw them on paper. Tell your story from step 2 by placing your characters into 4 panels. Alright, so you don't have to draw your panels or use sticky notes because on our Google Drive I have placed the same template that I used for my own comic, and you can print it out and draw your strips on there. There are 3 ways you can go about drawing your characters in these panels. You can use only facial expressions, and what I mean by that is that the entire strip will just be framed on your character's face. You can also use body postures, or in other words, you can have your comic in full body shots in order to convey the actions your character is doing. There are merits to both of these methods. With facial expressions, you are moving the story along through the emotions your characters are feeling. With body postures, you can show the actions the characters are taking to move the story forward. My personal method is using both facial expressions and body posture, and here's how I do it. When you're drawing your panels, we're going to think about the posture, and then we're going to think about the full face, facial expressions. So posture is really important. How I draw posture is I think about lines and how they're bent, basically. If I'm looking at someone and they're standing really tall, and maybe they have their hands on their hips because I automatically put hands on hips. Then they're gonna have like this kind of upward sort of back look, because so when you look at someone, maybe they're slouching, well then it's gonna be like this. Maybe they have their hands in their pockets because they're slouching. Here, when you have like this strip with this panel, I always like to start my first panel with my 4-panel strips with like a posture. So this looks like they're having a party. Let's have a party. This is a party theme now. These people are having a party, apparently. That's a disco ball. I think he's hanging it up. And this person's really excited. So this tells us about the setting. There might be a speech bubble here. You know, this guy's hanging up a disco ball, and he's a really big party dude because of his spiky hair. That people with spiky hair do not necessarily like parties, but I'm just going with it. And this person's really excited. He's holding a balloon. It's not a good balloon. So this helps us to gauge just how like people are feeling, and gives us a good idea of the characters and the setting, because you got a zoomed out point of view. You can even get more zoomed out than that. So say it's a really big party, you can have like tables that people are standing at. Maybe like a concessions over here that nobody can see, and here's the disco ball shining all the lights. That's a really big party. That would make me uncomfortable if I'm going to be honest. So yeah, and if you are going to make your whole strip with posture, then really rely on how posture affects mood. So as in real life, we are not super most people aren't super exaggerated, but when you are drawing, as a general rule, and all of these are general rules by the way, because since you are the artist, you can do whatever you want, but this is just my advice to help you out. As a general rule, you want to exaggerate. So if in real life, someone would raise their arms like this, and this is how they do it. But when you're drawing, to really get your people to read, well, not read it, just to make it interesting, basically, you want to really exaggerate those curves, and so it makes it. I'll have a before and after. It makes it a lot more interesting to look at. Same if someone's like sad. So in real life, probably have someone kind of like this when they're sad. But in artist life, you wanna make it really, really, and even this slight difference, and that's not awful because it's got like the head low. I don't know, but it's always good. Exaggerate your poses if you can, and for stick figures even. For those of you who want stick figures, you can do this because I'm basically drawing a bunch of stick figures. I mean, they're slightly different than stick figures, but they're kind of like stick figures. Same general rule applies. You can have like stick figure who's happy, that's not super happy looking. A stick figure who's happy, there we go. Darn it, it's not the eraser. A stick figure who's sad. A stick figure who's going on a run. Stick figure. Basically, all this applies. Now for facial expressions. That's fun. I love facial expressions. So, when you're drawing faces, there's some things that need to be considered. With facial expressions, certain things make other things more obvious. So I've just got some things right here. I'm gonna make this dark so it's more. So if I'm making someone really happy, I'm going to tend to give them big pupils, like this, and make them smile however you want. And depends. Maybe they have like a tear for joy, but that's up to you. And the main thing to think about right now is the big pupils, because you can make. So watch. I'm gonna draw. So you watch. I'm gonna give that person their smile. Give them the eyebrows, but this time give them really small pupils, and they don't look very happy. They look kind of panicked. So this person's happy, this person's panicked, but watch, if I just make their pupils bigger. I mean, I've got to admit that mouth is going off the face, but suddenly they look happier. And same thing applies here. So if I just erase this, it's not very fast. I'm not, I'm just gonna redraw the whole thing. So I'm just gonna have a circle and a couple more circles. So this person's angry. It's always good for upset faces to have really small pupils. That is not a good circle. And happy faces to have like really big, because it really emphasizes the expression. Now if you want to just have them all the same, you go for it. Also, eyebrows are very important. This person, even without pupils, they're angry. Or maybe they're scheming. If you give them a smile, they're scheming. This person could be sad or shocked or scared. Eyebrows have a lot, and you can actually tell a lot about things. This person's determined. This looks determined. This looks very scared or sad. Just add some tears and now they're sad. So yeah, it's a good thing to think about when you're drawing expressions. Okay, so for the balance between expressions and postures, so I've got these 4 panels. So like I said before, I tend to have like this posture over here, and then I focus in on the conversation with faces most of the time after. It's always good to make sure that whoever's reading your comic it's not going to get too distracted. So for instance, let's say I have this person. This person is what I want my reader to be looking at. I do not want too many like fancy butterflies and giant tree and maybe like this other person who's really a background character and doesn't need to be seen, because suddenly you don't know what to look at. Now it depends. If your character has just discovered a magical world, they're looking around, then you want everyone to feel what the character feels. Then you would want really detailed trees and really detailed butterflies and stuff like that. But if you want your reader to just if your character's just quickly walking through the forest and doesn't really care, then you want the character to be really detailed, and then the forest to really just be an afterthought. So that's something else you want to think about when you're drawing with posture. And that's when you draw. Right, today your assignment is to draw your 4 panels. Make sure you leave space for a speech bubble, but don't ink it in or anything like that. So yeah, that's what I've got for you today. Yeah. Okay, so you're going to go ahead and draw your characters, and only your characters, into the 4 panels of your comics. You can color them, trace them with a pen, whatever you want. Make sure you leave room for the speech bubbles, but don't draw them in just yet. If you need to, you can sketch circles where the speech bubbles will be. I can't wait to see what you guys create.